the same text in 3 languages: hieroglyphics, Demotic, and most importantly, ancient Greek, which had never been forgotten.
Think of the Rosetta Stone as an old letter, written over a more important, erased message. For centuries, we've only read the top layer. Now, an AI has the technology to see what was scrubbed out. We're going to reveal what that AI found. This isn't just a simple translation error. It's a deliberate, coded warning from ancient priests, a terrifying message about a cosmic event they knew was coming. The official decree was just a distraction to hide a prophecy that is finally being understood, and the timeline is, to put it mildly, unnerving. A message in triplicate. Let's go back. The year is 1799. Napoleon's army is in Egypt. A group of French soldiers are tearing down an old wall near the town of Rosetta to build a fort. And there, buried in the rubble, they find it. A slab of dark, glittering rock, almost 4 feet high and weighing a massive 1,680 pounds. It was covered in 3 types of strange, ancient writing. The discovery sparked an international frenzy. This was the peak of Egyptomania. Europeans were obsessed with pyramids, mummies, and the lost magic of the pharaohs. But there was a problem. No one on Earth could read the beautiful, picture-like symbols called hieroglyphs. An entire civilization, thousands of years of history, was completely silent. We could see their temples, we could unwrap their mummies, but we had no idea what they were trying to tell us. The Rosetta Stone changed everything. It was a cheat sheet. At the very top was the mysterious hieroglyphic script, the sacred language of the priests. In the middle was Demotic, a sort of everyday Egyptian cursive. And at the bottom was ancient Greek. This was the jackpot. Because in 1799, plenty of scholars could still read ancient Greek. The assumption was, this had to be the same message written 3 times. If they could just match the Greek words to the hieroglyphs, the code would be broken. It triggered a race, a sprint between the 2 greatest minds of the day. In England, there was Thomas Young, a genius who seemed to know everything. In France, there was Jean-François Champollion, a young prodigy who, by age 16, had already mastered a dozen ancient languages. He was obsessed. He dedicated his entire life to this single puzzle. The race was brutal. Young made the first breakthrough, figuring out that some of the symbols were phonetic, meaning they stood for sounds. But it was Champollion who, in 1822, finally cracked the code. He realized the hieroglyphs were a complex and beautiful hybrid. Some were sounds, like our alphabet. Others were ideas, like a modern emoji. And some were secret signs that only priests would understand. It was a total breakthrough. Thanks to this one stone, we unlocked the pyramids. We read the Book of the Dead. We heard the voices of pharaohs like Tutankhamun and Ramses the Great. The entire field of Egyptology was built on this one translation. And what was this grand, history-changing message? This is where the story honestly gets a little boring. The official translation is a public decree from 196 BC. It's a list of all the great things the teenage king Ptolemy V had done. He gave tax breaks to the temples, he forgave some debts, and he released a few prisoners. In return, the priests agreed to build more statues of him and celebrate his birthday every year. It's basically a 2,000-year-old thank you note from the priests to the king. A very, very long and boring memo. For 2 centuries, that was that. The case was closed. The Rosetta Stone had done its job. It was taken by the British and put on display in the British Museum. Millions of people have walked past it, gazing at the very key to our ancient past, not knowing the real story. But what many overlooked is that the story has holes, big ones. Now, a new technology has arrived. A revolutionary artificial intelligence, a deep learning neural network, was tasked with reanalyzing the Rosetta Stone. This AI wasn't just translating the Greek and comparing it to the hieroglyphs. That's the old way. This new system scanned the entire stone using a process called reflectance transformation imaging. It photographed the stone from hundreds of different angles, with light hitting it from every possible direction. This allows the AI to see every microscopic scratch, every chisel mark, every faint line invisible to the human eye. The project was supposed to be simple. The goal was to create a perfect, high-definition digital model and just confirm Champollion's 200-year-old work. But the AI didn't confirm it. Instead, its report came back with a single jarring word: anomaly. Then it found another, and another. the AI found something else, something hidden in the stone for 2 millennia. It found a second, hidden message. A message that was deliberately covered up. A message that, once revealed, is truly terrifying. The stone's first secret was about to be exposed. Not a translation, a betrayal. The AI's first discovery was jarring. The 3 texts on the stone, they don't actually match. We were always told they were identical one-to-one translations. This is the entire basis for how we decoded the hieroglyphs. If the Greek word for king matched a certain hieroglyph, we assumed that hieroglyph meant king. But the AI proved this was a lie. They are, in fact, not the same message. They are 3 different versions of a message, each one tailored for a specific audience. This wasn't a translation, it was a sophisticated piece of propaganda. You have to understand the time. 196 BC was a terrible time in Egypt. The new king, Ptolemy V, was just a teenager. His government was in chaos. The country was in the middle of a brutal civil war. The Greek rulers, who had taken over after Alexander the Great, were losing control. The only group still holding any real power was the ancient Egyptian priesthood. They were the ones who controlled the temples, the grain, and most importantly, the hearts of the common people. King Ptolemy desperately needed the priests on his side. So, this decree, the Rosetta Stone, was a political deal. But the priests were smart. They were playing a dangerous game. They had to make their new Greek king happy, but they also had to send a message to their own people. The AI broke down the differences, and it's chilling. The ancient Greek text at the bottom is all business. It's written for the Greek administrators, the government officials. The AI noted its language is legalistic and financial. It's dry. About rescinding taxes, administrative reforms, and amnesty for rebels. It makes King Ptolemy look like a smart, generous, modern CEO. It's all about logic, order, and money. This was the message for the government. The demotic text in the middle is slightly different. This was the language of the people, the script used in markets and homes. The AI found the tone here is less legal and much more patriotic. It's filled with emotional language. It uses phrases that emphasize the good of Egypt and restoring ancient traditions. It praises the king for protecting the homeland. It's a political message designed to make the Egyptian people feel like this foreign Greek king was actually on their side. But the hieroglyphic text at the top, this is where it all goes off the rails. This script was already ancient by 196 BC. It was a sacred language, a magical code the priests used to speak directly to the gods. Most people, and certainly most Greek rulers, couldn't read a word of it. It was like a secret code language for the priesthood. And, as the AI's analysis found, this version is wildly different. It's packed with dense religious code. It doesn't just call Ptolemy a king, it calls him the living image of God, the son of Ra, the avenger of his father, and the chosen of Horus. The other texts talk about tax breaks. This one talks about the king as a divine being, linking him to the cosmic battle between order, or Ma'at, and chaos, or Isfet. For 200 years, scholars just shrugged this off. They said, well, that's just how Egyptians wrote. They were very religious and flowery, but the AI disagreed. It found the patterns were too specific. The priests weren't just being poetic, they were using the hieroglyphs as a second layer of communication. This is what researchers now call visual theology. Every single symbol had a double meaning. The AI found that even the way a symbol was carved changed its secret meaning. A bird facing left meant one thing. A bird facing right, toward the sacred temple, meant something else entirely. A snake symbol carved with a deeper line might not mean snake at all, but danger or the void. To the untrained Greek official, it just looked like a fancy signature. To the initiated priest, it was a separate conversation. The AI began to map these hidden meanings, and the message it found wasn't praising King Ptolemy. It was hiding something from him. The priests were forced by the king to write this decree. They had to obey. But they used the sacred text, the one their Greek rulers couldn't read, to embed a message of their own. A message they were terrified of, one they needed to preserve for the future. The Rosetta Stone wasn't a thank you note, it was a Trojan horse, and what it was hiding was far older than the stone itself. The phantom text emerges. The AI's next discovery was even more shocking. It moved beyond the meaning of the text and started analyzing the physicality of the stone. Using its high-definition 3D model, the AI mapped every single millimeter of the stone's surface. It logged the tool marks, the tiny fractures, and the patterns of erosion. It was looking for inconsistencies, and it found a wow factor detail that no human had ever noticed in 200 years. The Rosetta Stone was a recycled rock. The AI's analysis of the tool marks was conclusive. It was like a forensic investigation. The chisel marks used to carve the Greek and Demotic texts at the bottom were consistent. They were shallow, quick, and matched other carvings from the Ptolemaic period. But the hieroglyphic section at the top was completely different. The tool marks were broader. The cuts were deeper. The style was from a much older period, hundreds of years older. What's more, the erosion on the hieroglyphs was older and more significant than the erosion on the Greek text, even though it was higher up on the stone. What does this mean? It means the stone wasn't carved all at once in 196 BC. The AI's model suggests the priests didn't just grab a blank slab of rock. They went into an old, ruined temple. They took a much older sacred monument, a stele from Egypt's Golden Age. This original stone already had a sacred message carved on it, and the priests erased it. They sanded it down. They chipped and polished the surface just enough to make it look blank to the naked eye. Then they carved King Ptolemy's new boring decree right over the top. But here's the kicker. The erasure wasn't perfect. To the human eye, the surface looks clean. But to the AI, which can detect variations in depth smaller than a human hair, the old text was still there. Faint ghosts of the original symbols were hidden underneath the new ones. Imagine writing a message in a notebook, erasing it poorly, and then writing a new message on top. The AI, using its advanced imaging, could read the erased message. This is the discovery that has historians panicking. We haven't been decoding the Rosetta Stone. We've been decoding the cover-up. The AI began the painstaking process of reconstructing the phantom text. It was like tuning a radio to a faint, distant station. It filtered out the new hieroglyphs of Ptolemy's decree, the noise, and amplified the old ones, the signal. The fragments started to come together. This wasn't a royal decree. It wasn't about taxes. The reconstructed text was dark. It was a passage unlike anything seen before. It had pieces that looked like the Book of the Dead, the ancient spells used to guide a soul to the afterlife. But it was mixed with other unknown symbols, symbols of astronomy, symbols of prophecy. The AI found phrases that, when translated, read, "The sky serpent will devour, the sun will blacken, the 5 lands will tremble, and the great order will unravel." This was not a guide to the afterlife. This was a warning. The priests in 196 BC found this ancient, terrifying prophecy. They were in a tough spot. They were religious men. They could never destroy a sacred stone. But they couldn't let their new Greek rulers see it either. Ptolemy would have seen it as treason, a prediction of his downfall. So they did the only thing they could. They hid it. They scrubbed it, recarved it with a boring political message, and then, using those double-meaning hieroglyphs, they essentially added a secret note on top, pointing to the real message hidden underneath. For 2,000 years, the secret was safe, until an AI was built that could see ghosts, and the message from those ghosts was a prophecy that was also a clock. Decoding, the final warning. This is where the story moves from history to a chilling, present-day mystery. The AI had the fragments of the ghost text. It had the hidden, double meanings from the priest's new text, and it had the astronomical symbols. It began to cross-reference all three in a massive data-crunching operation. It compared the ghost text to every known Egyptian myth and document in its database, thousands of papyri. It found matches. The sky serpent was a clear reference to Apep. In Egyptian myth, Apep was the ultimate evil. It was a giant snake, hundreds of miles long, that lived in the eternal darkness of the void. Every single night, the sun god Ra had to battle Apep as he sailed his boat through the underworld. If Ra ever lost, Apep would swallow the sun, and the entire world would be plunged into eternal, cold darkness. The Egyptians were, to put it mildly, terrified of this. The priest's new text, the one over the top, also referenced the myths of Horus and Set, the battle of order versus chaos. It was all connected. The old stone was a prophecy about the return of Apep. the end of order, the coming of chaos. The priests who recarved the stone clearly believed this prophecy was real. They were preserving it. But the most wow factor detail was the astronomy. The ghost text contained a series of symbols that were not words, but star charts. They were precise. The AI, cross-referencing these charts with NASA's astronomical data, found they weren't maps of the sky from ancient Egypt. The star alignments were predictive. They were pointing to a future date. The ghost text wasn't just a myth. It was a clock, a countdown timer to the return of the sky serpent. This is where many people get crazy about ancient prophecies. But this was different. This wasn't a vague quatrain from a mystic. This was an astronomical, mathematical calculation hidden in plain sight by a civilization obsessed with the stars and cycles of time. The Egyptians aligned the Giza pyramids to Orion's belt with a precision we can barely match today. They built temples that were giant astronomical computers, like the Temple of Karnak, where the solstice sun shoots a single beam of light down a long corridor. These people knew the sky. What if they saw something coming? Something big. The AI, with its massive processing power, calculated the date. It tracked the movements of the stars, the precession of the equinoxes, all based on the hidden map. This is the part that has researchers in a cold sweat. The date the star charts were pointing to was not in the past. It was not a prophecy about a flood or a forgotten battle. The date is in our time. The Rosetta Stone, the key to our entire past, is a 2,000-year-old doomsday clock. The terrifying message isn't just that the stone is a fake. The terrifying message is the original text. It describes a time when the sky will unravel and the serpent from the void will return. The AI's report, which was leaked from the research lab, suggests the serpent from the void is not a literal snake. It's a metaphor for a cosmic event, a cyclical disaster that returns from the void of deep space. Think about the myths of a serpent that devours the sun. This could be a description of a massive, long-period comet, a cloud of asteroids, or a cloud of interstellar debris that our solar system passes through on a regular, predictable cycle. This idea isn't just in Egypt. This is valuable fluff that connects globally. The Norse had Ragnarok, where the wolf Fenrir swallows the sun. The Aztecs had the legend of the sun-eating serpents. The Maya had their long count calendar that predicted the end of a world age. What if they were all recording the same cyclical event? The priests in 196 BC didn't write the prophecy. They found it. It was a legacy from an even older, lost period of their history. They were just the messengers, the librarians, the ones who created the most brilliant time capsule in human history to make sure the warning survived. They hid their planet's most terrifying secret inside their king's most boring memo. And we just missed it. For 220 years, we walked right by it. Until the AI's report got out, and the panic began. Why are they hiding the truth? If you think this sounds like a wild conspiracy theory, you are not alone. But what happened after the AI made this discovery is what makes the story truly unsettling. The findings weren't published in a major journal. They weren't announced at a press conference. They were buried. The private lab that ran the AI analysis immediately shared its findings with several major universities and, of course, the British Museum, where the stone is held. The reaction was not excitement. It was, to put it mildly, panic. Almost overnight, access to the new high-resolution 3D data of the Rosetta Stone was restricted. New research applications were denied, citing conservation concerns. The academic debate that should have happened in public, the very process of science, was forced underground. Leaked emails from university servers show a bitter and furious argument. On one side, traditional Egyptologists are furious. They've built their entire careers on the old translation. They argue the AI is a black box. It's just finding patterns that aren't there. It's digital pareidolia, the same way we see faces in the clouds. They say it can't understand context, culture, or nuance. They are, in short, trying to put the genie back in the bottle. One prominent professor allegedly called the findings irresponsible, sensationalist, digital garbage. But on the other side, the data scientists and computational archaeologists are firing back. They say the data is the data. The tool marks are different. The erosion is older. The three texts do not match. They accuse the old guard of academic suppression, of trying to hide a discovery that makes their life's work look wrong. A young researcher at the lab was reportedly fired for trying to leak the data to the press, claiming the public has a right to know. This is where the controversy in the news comes in. The debate over repatriating the stone, sending it back to Egypt, has suddenly become incredibly heated. For years, it was a slow political argument. Now, Egyptian officials are demanding its immediate return. Why the sudden urgency? The leaked emails suggest that scholars in Cairo have seen the AI report. They are furious. They claim that Western museums have not just held their artifact, but have misunderstood it for 2 centuries. They believe they are the only ones, as the cultural heirs of the priests, who can truly understand the warning. The fight is no longer about ownership, it's about meaning. The thing nobody tells you is that this isn't just about the Rosetta Stone anymore. This is a domino. If the Rosetta Stone is a lie, if our foundational key is wrong, what else is wrong? What about all the other texts we translated using it? The entire Ebers Papyrus, our main source of Egyptian medicine. Is it real, or a cover-up for a different, older knowledge? The Book of the Dead. Are those spells for the afterlife, or are they, as some now suggest, instructions for navigating a global catastrophe? Our entire understanding of Egyptian history, of the pharaohs, of their religion, could be a complete fantasy. And it goes further. The AI that cracked the Rosetta Stone is now the most in-demand tool in archaeology. It's being pointed at other undeciphered texts. The Voynich manuscript, that bizarre book of unknown plants and codes. The Linear A tablets from Crete, the Rongo Rongo script of Easter Island. What if all of our ancient mysteries are about to be solved at once? And what if they all contain the same terrifying warning? The Rosetta Stone may have been the first, but it won't be the last. A race is on, not just to read the past, but to see if we have time to change the future. But first, we have to ask the most important question of all. A warning or a glitch? So, here we are. This is the moment to talk down to earth. People watching this are looking for a mystery, and this is perhaps the greatest mystery of all. Did ancient priests, thousands of years ago, see the future? Did they witness a cyclical cosmic disaster, a sky serpent that destroys the world? Did they create the most complex time capsule in history to warn us? And did our own scientists, in their arrogance, try to suppress it? Is a sky serpent coming for us? It's an incredible story, a terrifying one. Or is there another possibility? The thing is, we are missing a key detail. We are putting all of our faith, all of our trust, in a machine. The AI is powerful, yes. It can see patterns we can't. It can process data in seconds that would take a human 1,000 years. But it is not human. It does not understand belief, or metaphor, or ritual, or hope. It doesn't understand humor, or irony, or the need to exaggerate for effect. It can't grasp the simple, messy, chaotic reality of being human. It sees a 0.04% deviation in a carving and flags it as a conspiracy, not as that one carver who was having a bad day. It only understands data. When it looks at the stone, it sees code. It doesn't see the human hands that carved it, or the desperate culture trying to survive under a foreign ruler. Let's look at the evidence again, without the drama. The AI says the 3 texts don't match. Well, have you ever tried to translate a complex legal document into 3 different languages? One of which is a sacred, poetic language? Of course they don't match. The Greek text was the bureaucratic legalese of the time. The Demotic was for the common people. And the hieroglyphs, that was the word of the gods. You don't just copy-paste the word of the gods. You embellish. You add poetry. It's like comparing a legal contract for a house, a real estate ad for that same house, and a poem about what home means. They all describe the same thing, but they are not identical. The AI sees this difference as a decoy, as deception. A human sees it as, well, language. The AI says the tool marks are different. Okay, picture the scene. You have the head priest, a master artisan, working for months on the sacred, detailed images of the gods. His hands are steady. His tools are ancient and proven. But the Greek section? That's just text. He hands it off to a young apprentice, who's just been given a new, sharper chisel set from a trader. The apprentice is faster, maybe a little sloppier, and his tools leave a different mark. The AI flags this as tampering, as evidence of a secondary team. A historian just calls it on-the-job training. The AI says it found a ghost text. This is the most critical point. Maybe. Or maybe the priests just made a mistake. The AI is a pattern-finding machine. That is its only job. It looks at 1 million documents and finds a correlation between serpent and disaster. It sees a faint mark under the main text, a ghost, and immediately tries to connect it. But what if that ghost is just a mistake? What if the carver got to the end of a line and realized he misspelled Pharaoh's name? That's a big mistake. So you polish it down, you smooth it out, you recarve it. But 2,000 years later, a high-density scanner picks up the original polished-away error. The AI doesn't see a typo. It sees a suppressed message. It sees prophecy out of thin air, connecting serpent and sun and darkness from a half-erased, boring tax record. For 200 years, we believed in the genius of one man, Champollion. His translation was brilliant, but as the AI pointed out, it was also filled with small human errors. We are human, and we get things wrong. But what if the AI is wrong too? What if this is just a digital error? Think about it. We are ready to throw out 2 centuries of human scholarship, of archaeology, of linguistics, because a machine says it found a pattern. We're ready to believe in a cosmic serpent because the code told us to. But we never stop to ask, who wrote the code? What biases did they have? Was the AI trained on every doomsday movie ever made? Is it finding a prophecy, or is it just writing the most sensational script it can, because that's what it learned to do from us? This, in the end, might be the real terrifying message hidden inside the Rosetta Stone. The stone itself isn't a doomsday clock. The truly terrifying part is that we have built a machine so powerful that it can rewrite our entire history. It can tell us that our heroes were wrong, that our foundations are flawed, and that our most sacred artifacts are hiding dark secrets. And we have absolutely no way of knowing if the machine is telling the truth, or if it's just a glitch in the code. We've unlocked our past with a human key. Now we've been handed a new key, one made by an AI. And this new key unlocks a door to a future that is either terrifyingly real or a complete digital fantasy. The line between history and credible fiction has just been erased. By a machine. Did the ancient priests leave us a warning? Or did an AI just create a new, terrifying myth? Tell us what you believe in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe for more secrets we were never meant to know.